Hello, and welcome to the 160th episode of This is Difficult Gaming Podcast, the show where we talk about video games and other things, but mostly just video games. As you may have noticed, our intro is a little more boring this week. We have no Josh. And
John, we don't know what happened to it. Like, quite literally, he's ghosted us. He hasn't even talked to Colin all day.
Yeah, he's MIA. But I did find out from Colin that he has a 2-hour commute from work. And my guess is this. He went to work and forgot that he had a 2-hour commute. And
either that or, I mean, we have reason to believe that he's working in New York City, and the New York City public transportation is notoriously like all over the place in terms of times.
Sure.
So it could be that too.
Yeah.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Regardless, Zach and I, God, I always do that. I don't know why. We talk about that too.
Yeah. It's kind of a running joke because
it's like when your mom calls all of your siblings first and then you.
Right. But also, like, so my boss in college at the IT department, and my wife's grandmother have always called me Josh for no reason at all.
That's weird.
And it's very strange. I don't think I look like a Josh.
I don't know what it is. I just want to call you Josh.
there's a joke in Scrubs where the janitor says, "Oh, I've been called many worse things. Useless, lazy, Josh."
Wow. That's funny. Anywho, we decided that, it was time to start the show because we want to have, Josh. All right. I quit.
We decided we wanted to start the show because
Zach hasn't had dinner and
there it is.
Anyway,
yes, I'm hungry and we have things to say. So on with the program.
I'm
Zach. I'm one of your co-hosts. I stream. Well, I will be streaming again soon at another letdown. And I'm here with Paul. This is his channel, Ryugami-san. And we have to make the joke in the Fleshua.
We don't have to.
Well, it's a tradition now. We don't have a choice.
Yeah. I guess.
So, what do we got on the docket today, Paul?
Well, just the usual. How you been? Have you played any video games this week?
Yes.
Any other fun, exciting things?
In the ongoing saga of being a new parent, as I've mentioned on the podcast the last couple of episodes, finding time to play video games is quite difficult, especially when we're trying to introduce our daughter to other fun activities as a family. We went apple picking yesterday, which is always a good time. Can confirm that the hard apple cider stock of the year is quite delicious, as are the various baked goods and fresh apples surrounding therein. Anyway, that got away from me. But I did find time to play some games. I played a bit more Megaman 5. I'm actually very excited to report that my previous sticking point, where I just couldn't, I thought I needed the bird beat to get myself out of a sticky spot. Turns out all I needed to do was creatively use Rush Jet.
Oh yeah,
that was very cool. It was nice to be able to put that game aside for a while and come back to it knowing exactly what was going on, exactly what I was doing, and just, that's how I can do this.
Dude, sometimes that makes all the difference. I can't tell you how many times I've been stuck on a game and like I get frustrated, I set it down, I go on with my life. Fast forward like a week or so, and I pick it back up, and immediately, boom.
Solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
That actually, the first time it ever happened to me was Link's Awakening. I couldn't find the damn sword. I was young. Granted, I got that game when I was 7. So, like...
There's no indication of where to go, and you're just wandering around. You don't realize that there's a gap in the wall on the south end.
Yeah,
I think that throws off literally everybody except my niece. My niece found it in seconds.
Right, and it's not like it's a huge map that you have available to you at the time to explore, but for some reason... I was having conversations with people and reading signs and things like that rather than like deeply exploring the areas, thinking that I would get a clue. And really, I just needed to poke around a little more. But like, I literally put that game down for probably close to a year and then came back and booted it up and was like, "Yo, Adam, I found the sword."
Found the sword. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was pretty excited for that. I got to the next boss and had to put it down because the baby needed attention. But it was nice to break through that barrier. And I find that games these days, like, you're because the plot is so much more overt and in your face, and a key sticking point. I use that term a lot. A key facet of gaming, um, that the ability to come back to a game after a while diminishes significantly. Like right now, I couldn't tell you what I was doing in Elden Ring the last time I played it.
Sure.
And that's a bummer because I really do want to come back to that game as I have the ability to do so. Right now I don't, but
Yeah.
and it's going to be frustrating to try and figure out what was I doing again. Oh, okay, well I could have done this, and then, you know, like it's going to take some time. Where Megaman, I was just able to drop right back in and be like, oh, okay, problem solved, moving on.
Yeah.
And the other game I got to play this week, just as a point of comparison, was 30XX.
Nice.
There's been a lot of cool updates to that. New game modes and new characters have been introduced.
Is that
Not
still
playable.
in early access?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
And I find that having done some practice in both Mega Man and Mega Man X, I'm much better at it than I was the last time I played, which is pretty cool. I can.
Oh yeah.
I'm still, the standard growing pains, like I'm struggling on the boss fights, but that'll come back. Just remembering patterns and stuff. But I find that my ability to dodge things, my ability to manipulate the character is significantly better, which is pretty cool.
Excellent.
How about you? What did you play this week?
This week, well, actually, I'm gonna start with something I played last week because I forgot to mention it, and that's a game called Wolong, which is from the same team that did the Neo games. So Team Ninja, they also did the Ninja Gaiden games and such.
Yep.
They also are the ones that are coming out with the game in 2024 that I'm extremely excited about, which is Rise of the Ronin. So that's really cool. But they've got a demo out for Wolong, which is coming out in February, I think.
Yep.
And it's very Neo-like, but instead of being in like feudal Japan, the setting is the Four Kingdoms era or Three Kingdoms era rather, in China. So you've got like the Romance of the Three Kingdoms kind of deal. And it's awesome. It's freaking awesome. It's got, kind of the same type of combat feel as Neo, but it's much more smooth and fluid. They incorporated a new system similar to actually Sekiro, where instead of having like a stamina gauge like previous Souls games, your attacks and defense and your exhaustion are all based on your level of aggressiveness and also parrying techniques. So when you get hit or when you are blocking, you basically accrue, or the enemy blocks your attacks, you accrue more fatigue, I guess we'll call it. And then once that hits a certain level, that'll break and you'll get screwed over like you would had you run out of stamina. Dodging also does it. So what actually that does is encourages more aggressive style gameplay, where you're trying to put your enemy on their heels, which I didn't love in Sekiro, but to me it feels like they do a little better job of it in this game. They've kind of fine-tuned it a little more, and it feels a lot better. It also has a magic system which is kind of based off of the same whole deal. I don't know what they call it, if they call it chi or whatever.
I mean, that's not, of very little importance at this moment, right?
Sure. But that's also really cool because, like, in the Neo games, all of your magic is limited to items, essentially, that you prepare at any checkpoint, right? So anything like a bonfire, let's say, you find one of the shrines, and you can like re up on your magic items and things like that there. But as soon as you leave, you've got a finite amount of those before you can use them again.
Yeah.
And if you run out, your SOL until you find another shrine.
Yeah.
In this, it's essentially unlimited as long as you're managing your gauges well. So
Nice.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
really like that. And yeah,
While
it's
we're on that, I was glancing at Team Ninja's CV,
yeah.
and good lord, they've had some cool, like, hands in so many cool pots.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
they've done stuff with Metroid, they've done stuff with Dead or Alive, they've done stuff with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like
Final Fantasy.
Final
Uh,
Fantasy. Yeah, heck of a resume there.
yeah, they do some incredible stuff. So yeah, I'm very excited about this game. My biggest complaint about this game is I mean, there's a couple things that need to be fine tuned, like the parry windows and things like that. But
Mhm.
the thing that's the real like real annoying bit at the moment is the time it takes to heal. So like your classic like Estus flask kind of healing, whatever. Um, it it takes forever. It takes
Yeah,
forever for you to consume, and it's not that bad while you're going through a level. But if you're on a boss fight or fighting
yeah,
like a bigger like mini boss type enemy, it's impossible to heal.
yeah.
It's
Now you've got to basically add one more thing to your to-do list.
mhm.
Like, your focus should be on attacking and defending against that boss, not having to
Yeah.
wait out an animation,
Yeah.
basically.
And I felt pretty vindicated in my feelings on that too, because I watched actually a pretty big Souls streamer playing through the game, and he had the exact same critique. So I was like, okay, other people are seeing this. They're probably getting this feedback. That's probably going to be fixed. Um,
I hope it does.
but yeah, it's really cool. One other thing that I really liked about it too was, and I don't know, like in most Souls like games, you accrue more healing items
Yep.
as you go on. Like you can level up your Estus flasks or
That's
whatever
the
it
same.
is,
More,
right?
more charges to the flask, more levels to the flask.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in this, I don't. You might be able to do that later on in the
Hmm.
game. Obviously, this is just a one level demo, so I don't know. But what was cool, you start with 4, and then every time someone avenges you, you get a new one back. So like if I die to a particular enemy and
Hmm.
someone else playing the game kills that enemy, I'll get a charge back on my healing, which is really
Oh,
cool.
weird.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I really like it. There's also another system that I didn't quite understand. There's like a ranking system. So like
Yeah.
every time you die, you'll see it tick down. I think the max, or at least the max that I saw was 20, but you start pretty low, and as you defeat enemies and so on, it levels up.
Hmm.
Um but it seems to determine how difficult the enemy is. Like, so
Hmm.
if you find an enemy, he's got a 20 above him and you're at a 17, that enemy's going to be more difficult and more aggressive.
Hmm.
Whereas if the script was flipped, it'd be a little easier to get by. So there's value in trying to keep that, uh, whatever that number is, I forget what they call it, high.
Sure.
And there's areas all throughout the map that like you will raise a flag or whatever, and it will also raise that number too. So that's a way
Sure.
that you can kind of mitigate the difficulty as you're playing through. It's really cool. Honestly, like I love the Neo games, and Neo 1's great, but Neo 2's better. And I would say this is, like the same level of jump from Neo 1 to 2, from Neo 2 to Wo Long. Yeah, that's what's called Wo Long.
Nice.
Like they've done enough improvements that it really feels like a new game. It really refreshing, really fun, and I'm super excited for it. So that was
That's
a
awesome.
that was a lot.
Well, I mean, we like to do previews around here. We love preview content, and we
Yeah.
love talking about preview content. So I
Mhm.
can't begrudge you that. But so that was two. That was last week. What did you play this week?
This week I've been playing Oracle of Ages on the
Nice.
Game Boy Advance. Well, it's Game Boy Color originally, but I'm playing it on my Game Boy Advance. And I think I just finished the second dungeon. Um, Super great. I mean, it obviously it feels just like Link's Awakening as you're playing it.
Yeah.
Um, but they've done a lot of cool things in that versus Link's Awakening as far as like the puzzles are more complex.
Yep.
Because it's in color, they're able to integrate more, like color-based things into those puzzles.
And that was the novelty at that point
Sure.
is hey, look at this color. Pokemon Pinball did it.
Yeah. Well, I
On
mean,
the,
Link's Awakening did it too with the color dungeon, in the DX version of Link's Awakening.
right.
But yeah, so I mean, it's awesome, and I've started both Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons many times, but I've never finished them, and I kind of like am finally getting around to getting into those. And like the fact that this is made by Capcom and not Nintendo is also like the way that they were able to still capture that feel even better than some of the Nintendo versions, I would argue, of Zelda games is great. So I'm excited to keep playing those games and get through those.
I think when you first posted that you were playing that, I said, yes, Capcom understood the assignment.
They did. They really fucking did.
They really got it. And, you know, these are the guys who make, I mean, Megaman.
Yeah.
They make my favorite game franchise. They make a bunch of others.
Did Capcom do Minish Cap too? I don't remember.
I think so. I'm not. I looked the other day and I can't remember. But they did several, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. When Capcom does something right, they do something right. That's just the bottom line. And when they know that they are at their limit, they'll outsource. And that's one of the things that I respect most about Capcom as a company is they are willing to admit when they need help.
Capcom and Flagship worked on Minish Cap.
Yeah,
so like and honestly, Minish Cap I think is the most slept on
absolutely
handheld Zelda game. It's
well, okay, no. I'm going to disagree with that slightly.
Okay.
I'm going to throw Phantom Hourglass out there. I really enjoyed that game for the DS.
Yeah.
And I don't think it gets enough credit.
That's fine. And I've played it and it plays okay, but the stylus controls in the DS
there's like the door opening stuff. Yeah.
And there's some really annoying stylus stuff that you have to do in both that and Spirit Tracks. And
very fair. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating.
Okay, so I would change my tune then. Minish Cap for the win on that one.
Minish Cap is awesome. More people should play it and appreciate it. Like, honestly, it's hard for me to say, but I think it's possible that the only thing keeping that from being my favorite handheld Zelda game is the nostalgia factor of Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
So Link's Awakening's still at the top, but Minish Cap is right here, and I because I can't go back and erase my mind and play those games back to back and tell you which one's objectively better. I can't say whether or not that's true. But there's like a small voice in the back of my head that says you only like that better because that was your first Zelda game.
Yeah. But I mean, that's an important part of any ranking though. Like, and I'll get to that at the end of the show when I talk about what I'm going to talk about my review.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Do you have any current events?
I do, and it's anybody who watches my regular streams knows that there's a bit of a motif where I like to complain about things, and mostly sarcastically. But this one is actually something that grinds my gears a little bit. It was announced that, or as they release more preview material for Gotham Knights, that it will take multiple playthroughs to see the whole story. Yeah. And that bugs me a little bit because my intention is to play it with you and Shamali and Adam.
Right.
And I'm going to play it once as Nightwing and be done with it. Sure. Like, that's pretty much the way I was intending to play that game. But now you're asking me to go back and play the whole game through as Babs and Jason and Tim as well. And I'm like, I don't know that I want to do that. Like, it just seems like artificial game lengthening.
Especially after like what we've seen of that game, right?
Right. Yeah, it's like character assassination of the game.
Yeah.
Other than the designs look freaking cool.
I've got complex feelings on this because I just reviewed a bunch of games that you have to do this with, right?
Sure.
But
go ahead.
Those are all unique endings and storylines, and you can beat those games in like half an hour to 2 hours.
Yes,
you know?
Exactly. Turtles, for example, Shredder's Revenge. I don't have a problem going back and playing that again. Mm-hmm. That game is great, and I intend to play it with every Turtle once my Switch copy comes in.
Yeah.
But a game like this, I mean, well, how long did it take me to do the rest of the Batman Arkham games? Quite a while. Mm-hmm. I mean, multiple streams. And some of which were 4, 5, 6 hours long. Mm-hmm. And I'm not keen on doing that. Either that or this game is going to be way shorter than we thought it was.
Right.
So that's a bit of a problem to me. I don't know. I just don't know.
There's plenty of games that do this, but I do agree with you. It does feel like artificial game lengthening, especially when it's like, so like, let's take Elden Ring, for instance. Yes. There's multiple endings to Elden Ring, but
sure.
Elden Ring gives you the opportunity to create your own character, explore a world at your leisure in the order that you want to do it, and you're writing your own story. And then picking the ending that you want to based on your actions, right? Exactly. Whereas this is just objectively, at least what it seems like, especially because there are these defined characters already that, I have to play it with this character, and then I have to play it with this character, and then I have to play it with this character if I want to get the whole story in,
right. And the tagline on the PC Gamer article that Shamali posted that I'm covering here is 4 characters, 4 viewpoints in every mission. That is immediately saying to me, you have to go play this with everybody. And no, thank you.
Well, that also brings up the case of like, does it only give you the story for the host of the co-op game that you're playing?
Oh, God,
so like, if you're playing as Nightwing and I'm playing as Red Hood, I'm getting the Nightwing narrative and not the Red Hood.
No, thank you.
Or are we going to see separate cutscenes as we're playing this game? How's that going to work?
So I really hope it's that, because how cool would it be as we're hopefully streaming through this game?
But then you're
like,
still.
I saw this and fill in each other's gaps.
Yes, but does that mean everyone has all the same missions then and not the same story? Because that doesn't make much sense, right? You would think if the story is going to differ, that the missions will differ too.
So the story, like that's tough. That's a really difficult decision.
Yeah, this sucks.
Because, they keep backing themselves into a corner on this game. Can we just have Suicide Squad kill the Justice League already? Like, at least that takes place in the Arkham universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh God.
I still think the game's going to be fun, honestly, or at least rather, we're going to have fun playing it.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to have fun playing it and riffing about it. And talking about it and whatnot, and hopefully getting Adam to dress up as Batgirl.
Yo, that'd be hilarious.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because I've got my Red Hood
costume. I got the Nightwing costume.
Yeah, yep.
Won't be on camera.
That's hilarious. We could just put a picture of him as Tim Drake or whoever he's playing. Yeah. But I don't know. That sucks. My current event, I just thought I'd bring it up because it's kind of another grind your gears thing, and since we're talking about our gears being grinded, and I don't really have a dog in this fight, so to speak. Hey,
I made it.
We have our special visitor.
I saw y'all didn't have someone.
We have a Collec.
Hey, actually, perfect timing because we're about to talk about PlayStation VR 2, and you're our VR guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
So,
let me find a place to get lit.
Well, while you're doing
I don't
that,
have any of that.
I'll bring up what I was going to mention, and that is that like I said, I don't really have a dog in
Oh my
this
God.
fight, but I have friends that are big VR enthusiasts, including Colin here. And the PSVR 1 at the time was the best-selling consumer virtual reality headset for what it was, right? Obviously, Oculus has done some pretty good things and so on and so forth. And now we're on the precipice of PSVR 2 coming out. And one of the big things that they mentioned was that it will not be backwards compatible with PSVR 1 games. And to me, as a consumer, if I was into the PSVR, I'd probably be pretty frustrated with that.
Yeah, that seems like
Their reasoning behind it was
It's
the advancements in the technology, which makes sense, but like how hard would it
Yeah.
be to port that stuff to
like is the hardware actually all that much different? Like that it couldn't just be like we're playing on lower settings or something? I
the
admittedly
hardware
don't know.
is a lot different. I mean, it's got a
It is.
much higher, it's got like 110 degree field of view, which I think might be best in class. Like that's
So let me see if I understand you. You're saying that the games made today for PSVR 2 will not work for PSVR 1, or PSVR
both.
1 games won't. So neither direction.
Yeah, there's
So
no
PS
cross
Oh, that
compatibility at all.
seems really strange. But I kind of get it a little bit. Like you said, like the field of view being wider. Like you'd have to change every single game that you would have if you knew the field of view, and that's how you develop the game. You'd have to go back and change all of your game mechanics because you've seen more than you're supposed to. You know, like I mean, I can think of a million reasons why they would just be like, we're just not going to make it back compatible. I think that's a mistake, personally. You know, but
Yeah.
yeah, I can see why they do that. So
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
strange. They also some of the good things they mentioned were you've got dual 4K displays in there, like super advanced eye tracking, and then I forget what this technology is called. Maybe you could help us out with this, fake Josh.
foveated rendering.
Yes. So
Yeah.
essentially, they render only the stuff that your eyes are looking at.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
and then they
incredible.
partially render the other stuff. And early reports on people that have had hands-on is that they could not notice a difference. So, like,
Yeah.
essentially, everywhere that they're looking looks crystal clear and beautiful. And as soon as they look somewhere else, it renders in real time, and there's no like gap in that performance, and so that actually allows it to perform way better than it normally would if it was rendering the whole screen all at once.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that can only happen if they have eye tracking built in. Otherwise, they would have no idea where you're looking. So it's foveated rendering is a pretty big like tech term thrown around, but it's something that it'd be invisible to the user, hopefully, but it'll show in the way of on lesser hardware it'll work on. You know, like you can use crappier hardware to run VR games without having to worry about a slowdown. You know, because they really need to hit that I think 90 frames per second to get no motion sickness issues.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was just thinking. Is that'll give you a higher frame rate, and it more accurately mimics what our like peripheral vision does. Because
that's true.
It like the quality of the image in my peripheral vision is significantly reduced by comparison.
Only if you haven't trained yourself.
That's true though. Your vision it's not as high fidelity outside, where you're not looking basically.
Yeah,
So it kind of throws the information out. Your body's like, that's not important to me,
Right.
So
I think that does that's of interest to me as someone who perennially gets sick with motion or with VR.
Yeah, I do too. I'm really sad about that.
Yeah.
I do too. Not super bad, but like especially if it's a really bad like frame rate.
Certain games. Yeah.
There's certain games that really do it. Or if there's like too much motion and I'm not also moving. Like if I'm standing up and moving around, one of the games that did it to me was that arena game where you have to move yourself with your arms. For some reason and you've got like floppy weapons and shit and
Gorn.
Dude, Gorn messed me up.
That's a really good one. That
Yeah.
game, it's like immediately immersive though, because you're just like, I'm just gonna kill things, and you just know how to do it basically. There's a huge game coming out
Dude,
though
that's
called Boneworks, by the way,
yeah.
and apparently it is like it's like one of those things. I haven't played the old one. They're called Bone Labs, whatever,
Okay.
and like I haven't played it, but like the new one coming out in about 3 or 4 days from now is supposed to be like the thing that's gonna change VR forever, kind of thing.
Okay, cool.
Like it's like this is it. I mean, like they keep saying that they're like, oh, this is the thing that's gonna change VR forever, but like apparently this game is gonna be it's gonna be massive. I mean, like everyone who plays it just like this is it. This is how you do VR right. And I can't explain why because I've never played it myself, but
Right.
like you can import your own like 3D models and the game will learn your avatar, not learn, but like it has built in like engine that basically looks at your avatar and it has like the feel of it feel right. So like if you put your hand to your chest, your avatar will put his hand to his chest, but like if your avatar is big, it'll put it right there. Like it won't be any clipping issues basically.
Oh,
So there's like
cool.
little like quality of life adjustments, so you feel like a Hulk, whatever, and you look like one too, and it doesn't clip weirdly because you're because you're small or whatever. It actually like translates beautifully, and so there's like that and a million other little things that make it like this is how you do a VR game, and you miss it in other VR games when you go to this one. Like when you come back to it, you're like, oh, this is how you do VR. So I imagine we might see this engine. I can't remember the name of it. Kind of be the standard for all VR games in the future potentially,
It's really
or
cool.
like the hub, the metaverse,
Yeah.
like like not that we want Facebook to take it over, but like something like that where you'll have it where you can kind of load your avatar into this virtual world and it just will work in any game or whatever. So
that's cool.
Sweet.
So I mean, with Marvel Spider-Man dropping on PC, the modding community is absolutely going bananas over it. Colin,
that's super cool. Yeah, I've seen some videos.
Did you see the one? There was one guy who tried to do first-person VR with it, and just
Oh,
Oh
no.
my god!
everywhere.
Oh
It's
my
a
god!
nightmare,
Yeah,
absolute
I bet.
disaster. But it just I would love to have a proper superhero game with technology like that.
Yeah,
Like I am clearly not built like a superhero, but to
yeah,
have
same.
a superhero avatar that would interact the same way that I interact with my own self. Would be
Right.
so cool.
Right.
Dude.
It's like translates properly. Yeah.
Total non sequitur, but after the movie for The Watchmen came out, first of all, I was in amazing shape at that time because I was training parkour and martial arts and stuff. But me and a friend of mine decided that we were going to become Watchmen and like start training. We didn't end up doing it, obviously. But
So okay, Paul, what was your alter ego going to be?
I hadn't picked one yet. No.
Oh.
No.
So not even got that
We didn't
far.
get that far. We just discussed training options and then never followed
That's
through.
so funny.
Oh boy.
Jetpacks are a thing now. They can actually buy like
Yeah.
commercial.
Have you seen the Iron Man ones that they use on their arms?
Yeah, that's the
So
one.
cool.
It's like available now. You can just buy it like as a consumer.
Did you see what Adam Savage did this week?
No.
He
What'd he do?
3D printed an Iron Man suit in titanium, and it is in fact bulletproof. Up to 40.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the future. It is bright, I feel like, with all the technology and everything and the ability for consumers to get their hands on stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean,
it's
I love
amazing.
YouTube. Like I
Yeah,
fall down
same.
YouTube all the holes all the time.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Just amount of
Well, it's
crazy.
just so cool. You can literally think it and bring it into the real world, So
Very cool. Hey, Colin, since you weren't here at the beginning, is there any games you played this week that you want to talk about or any other current events that you wanted to bring up?
I played Hat in Time again, and that's just such a great game. If you
Yeah.
like any Mario games or any kind of old platformers like Banjo-Kazooie, it just has that charm about it. Like it feels like the game you played 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But today, but it has the polish of a game today, like a AAA kind of game. So just a really tight game that I really enjoyed playing kind of all over again. It was just like, and it has a whole bunch of mods now. So it's just like endless content because you can make your own levels if you get bored of it, So pretty slick. And it's also like there's no fat. Like you play the main game, it's like I think it's like 20 hours to beat it, and there's just no fat. Like there's not like any like, oh, you have to do this, and it's like womp womp. It's all just really precise and linear and fun. So I did hear some sad news though about Breath of the Wild making more. It sold more copies than like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword combined, I think. So
Yeah.
I've got theories on that and why that is, because we notoriously on the show don't really care for that game, and I don't want to get into that.
I know.
But I think there's two factors to that. One, they built the hype train huge for that game because they announced it early, and they didn't show anything for such a long time, so people were just chomping at the bit. And then when the Switch came out, that the new, right? Like, that was the only game for a while. You know?
Yeah.
And so tons of people played it. You've got a whole new generation of gamers that have never played a Zelda game and don't know what a Zelda game pertains to, like what kind of things that they're looking for in a Zelda game. And so, it does really well because of those reasons rather than it actually being a good Zelda game,
Yeah.
So I think it's unfortunate for us as longtime traditional Zelda fans.
I bet they'll go back to it though with 2D. I think we'll see a lot of like return to form in 2D more so, because they keep releasing like old 2D games.
I hope so.
Cool.
We were talking about that at the front of the show about how much we love the 2D. I'm playing Oracle of Ages right now. So
yeah. I didn't really get into those personally. I was never really good at them, but I can respect them and appreciate them for what they were, what they are now. So like I heard Tunic's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So
that too. Colin, since you haven't been around, my niece picked up Link's Awakening for Switch.
Oh, sick!
I bought it for her sister, and who didn't
finish.
Such
a charming game.
And this is the 7-year-old picked it up, and she's like halfway through the game already.
That is so cool to think about.
That's better than I was when I was 7.
Yeah, right?
Like as a kid, you don't think, oh, this one is really special to me, and I hope that other people can play it the way I got to, and then they get to, they got to replay it in the way that you kind of did, because like as a kid, you kind of fill in the gaps for the bad graphics, But that's neat though. I like to hear that. So
it's very heartening for the future.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I love that. I've been playing some old games. I actually played Ape Escape and Jedi Power Battles for PS1. I use an emulator basically.
Jedi Power Battles was fun.
Yes. That is fun. I want to make a review on it. It's a game that I love, hate, and I want to make like this really long review about why I love and hate it at the same time, because I feel like it could have been so much better, and it just dropped the ball on a lot of things. But again, it's one of those games I played as a kid, so of course I still kind of like it in some weird way.
If you ever want to come on the show and do a review of it, you're more than welcome.
I want to do like a full
you can do
hour-long review. No, like I'm gonna edit it together.
Edit it, put in clips, and for sure.
Yeah. It would be
Yeah.
like a full review. If I ever want, I don't know. It's always something I've been kicking down the back of my mind. Whenever I play it, I'm always like, and I'd say this, and I'd say this, So, but Ape Escape though is a solid game though, and that was groundbreaking because it used the DualShock controller. Like it was the first game to use both sticks on the PlayStation. I think it was one.
PlayStation 1, yeah.
It was required. Like you had to do that. Like you bought it and you got home. You're like, yes, and then you had the right controller. You had to go back to the store and buy the right one to play this game, which is just crazy. They did that, but like it paid off because another really solid game that I don't feel like has a lot of fat. It held up. I had a lot of fun with it. I played it all over again. I 100%ed it. It was a blast.
We got that game. Remember when PlayStation used to give away like demo CDs in like boxes?
Yes.
We had that. We had Ape Escape demo from a CD or from a cereal box somewhere along the line.
Oh my
God. We played that demo like easily.
Did you get the helicopter? The little the thing that like pulls you up basically or whatever? Is that one of the tools you got? Yeah. That's like the best part of the game in my opinion, because you like turn the right stick to fly it, and if you keep doing it, you'll fly higher. And the left stick, you're controlling yourself, and like it just feels really good because it's like it forces you to take an active part in it, rather
you
than
can get that on PS5 now.
Can you really?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, in the PS5. Well, I think you can buy it a la carte, but their version of Game Pass has it.
Nice.
That's slick.
Yeah.
So it actually, like, I'm reminded of the interactivity level in Astro's Playroom.
Yes.
Like it is a giant. Astro's Playroom is a giant controller demo, basically.
Oh, okay.
Ape Escape did exactly the same thing. It forces you to interact with the controller in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I get the same level of enjoyment for that reason.
Yeah.
It's cool. You guys want to jump into the topic?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do this
Okay,
thing.
so
What's
our
the topic?
topic today is flipping the script. No, flipping the narrative on the leaks and rumors. So obviously, there's been a lot of leaks and rumors. There always is, right? Leaks and rumors, and most people view them in kind of like a negative light, especially when it comes to how they impact the gaming industry.
Mhm.
But we wanted to talk about some of the positive things that could come out of a leak or a rumor, and you know, to impact the industry for the better. My example that I wanted to bring up, and I was talking about in our Discord earlier, doesn't have to do with the gaming industry, but I feel like it's adjacent, and that is before the Deadpool movie got greenlit. It had actually gotten declined many
Yeah.
times. They're like, we're not doing that shit, and I called it a storyboard, but Adam said it was a pilot. But I thought it
Yeah,
was just an animated storyboard. But essentially, it's the whole first scene from Deadpool 1.
Mhm.
That like chase scene,
Yeah.
and that got leaked. A lot of people think it was Ryan Reynolds himself that leaked it. Um,
I
and
wouldn't be
it
surprised by
it
that,
got
honestly.
so much attention that the higher ups at Marvel were like, "Yep, okay, we're doing it." So, things like that I think can be positive, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the video game industry, like, quite often things leak because someone's upset about them for some reason,
Sure.
or at least I think traditionally. Um, but I think a strategic leak could work in the favor of a game development company. Let's say, or even not, even an accidental
That's
leak.
actually happened with Bungie quite a bit.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Is Bungie, Blizzard? It's happened to, I think, a couple of times. Um, that where, okay, something leaks. There's a reason why. Step zero, deal with that thing. Step one, admit that we messed up. Like, post to social media, do damage control,
Sure.
whatever you need to do. And then step two, okay, now let's weed through the vitriol on the internet. Now, admittedly, that's difficult. The internet sucks. Um, but let's weed through the vitriol and figure out what we can actually learn here. Um, the limitation of playtesting is playtesters know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
By and large, many of them, if not most of them, have playtested games before, and they almost have an agenda, if not an expectation, for a specific product. So you're only going to get feedback to a certain extent from playtesters.
Sure.
The stuff you find in the general public on the internet, well, generally hyperbolic and often angry, is a genuine gut reaction to something. The CGI in She-Hulk comes to mind,
Mm-hmm.
where some, a scheduled leak in the form of a teaser trailer
Mm-hmm.
illustrated that CGI was incomplete, and there was no sort of indication to that. There was no admittance of that, so the internet went absolutely bananas. And for the final release, admittedly, Marvel had to backpedal and change things up a little bit. They had to improve it. They may not have gone as far as we would have liked, but they did something about it. And if the game industry would do something of that nature, I think it could be largely beneficial.
I mean, similar happened with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which is
Yeah.
a little more closely related to games. And
Yeah.
we got, not only did we get better animation, but that movie's actually a hell of a lot of fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I
I would say maybe the best video game movie that I can think of.
Yeah.
Can you think of a better video
we're
game movie?
We're discounting Resident Evil because it's not really the same thing. I think, like, that's what we've said in the past. I think.
I still think. Look, I like the Resident Evil movies, but I still think that the Sonic movie is better than them.
I haven't watched the Resident Evil movies in years, so it's very plausible that that's, that you're correct there.
Yeah.
I just don't remember.
What other ways do you think that leaks and rumors can be positive? Because, like I said, most of the time we only see negative stuff. Though I will say, in the example of The Last of Us 2, that game went on to win game of the year, which I disagree with, but you know,
too.
that's just a
We had a
personal
problem with
opinion. But the thing is like the leaks were very negative and it caused a lot of drama on the internet, but that game ended up being a massive success.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive success. So, you know, I think in the long run, kind of the conflict that stirred up actually did help that game. Not that it would have done poorly anyway, because it was a highly anticipated game, but
Well, I think you're absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there. The controversy sells copies,
mhm.
and quite often you'll see a leak that causes all kinds of problems. People hate it. Well, this game is terrible. It's going to be awful, and then just it explodes because everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to see a dumpster fire. That's why The Room is successful.
Yeah.
And Tommy Wiseau has, in spite of everything, made millions off that stupid, awful movie that I adore. And I think the same thing could happen with the games industry. You release something that is going to cause problems. Now, this is in itself a problem. Like, you don't want to alienate your fan base, Breath of the Wild. But if that's what's going to do it, if that's the route one to making money, then maybe sure, go for that. But I sure as heck don't like it.
Sure. It's just so much harder to think, or like, yeah, harder to think of like positives for leaks other than just pure hype, right?
Yeah.
Like
And-
what we saw just a couple weeks ago with the Nintendo Direct, we had these major leaks for both Zelda remakes and also Metroid remakes. And the hype was huge for those, and Nintendo did not deliver, right? Because they either
Right.
don't have those products or they're not ready to talk about those products.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, that's a huge negative thing. Now, if and or when they finally do those things, sure, it's going to be great. But with Nintendo's track record, you know, a lot of times when they have something leak, they shut it all down. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's just pull the plug on the product.
yeah, so
That's a problem too. You have these people who are labeled as notable leakers, which is like, how does one become a notable leaker? Like, get something right once? What are you, Nostradamus?
yeah,
You probably have sources.
sure,
I'm guessing.
of course,
Yeah.
and I think
Or
a lot of
you're
these
known as
do.
the guy to leak something, you know.
But
and then
how
people start-
often are you going to leak something before these people stop telling you stuff, unless they're intentionally feeding you that information for leaks?
Exactly.
Yeah, I meant to say this earlier. I bet a lot of leaks nowadays are on purpose.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
for example, remember that weird thing that happened a couple of years ago with all the clowns in the news? Remember that?
Yes, I do. There was one 2 towns over.
Vaguely.
You know why that probably happened, actually? I think that was a viral marketing stunt for it.
I think
Oh
so.
yeah, of course.
Okay. But like that's what I'm saying though. But like no one knew that. It was just this creepy clowns everywhere. You know, in fact, it actually made McDonald's stop using the Ronald McDonald mascot because they're like they moved away from clowns because they thought, oh, no one likes clowns.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is, I bet most of these leaks nowadays, not Nintendo, I think as much. Nintendo's more like old school, you know, like they do things by the book, you know, and try not to leak things. But I think a lot of days, leaks are just, I think they're just, you know, I really do think it's just a publicity stunt. Like it's such a really great way to get your content out organically, you know.
Yeah.
So like
And I
it's hard
think
to know like what's you know what's real and what's just fake leak, you know, to see the reaction of an audience, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
And it also, it's a way for journalists to get a foot in the door with news outlets. Look at Screen Rant or CBR or you know, sites like that are just about having questionable information, dubious information now, and worry about, you know, begging forgiveness later.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I complain about that all the time as someone who is very interested in journalism. You know, I maintain that journalistic integrity is absolutely key, and yet the industry would disagree with me.
Yeah, well, watch how you say that in regards to the gaming industry, because they might link you in with a certain group of people that caused a lot of drama, you know, what,
Right,
10 years
exactly.
ago.
Like, so I don't know. I think, Colin, you've got a good point. I think it has become a marketing tool, for better or worse, whether it's for the game itself or for a person looking to
even Sonic maybe was a marketing tool. They made Sonic look ugly just to
I've
to
thought
stir up
about that
strife.
actually. Why
Oh my
in God's
God.
name would they have made him look that bad?
Yeah,
on
why would
purpose?
someone make it look that bad? Like, it was ugly and hideous and scary and uncanny valley, and not Sonic.
It looked like, that meme of like I think it's like a taxidermied fox. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do know what you're saying. Yeah.
No.
I'll find it and send
I'll
it
take
to
your
you
word
later.
for it.
But there's like a really like hideously taxidermied fox it's a meme format. It's one of the early meme formats.
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen this. Yeah,
And that's
okay.
what Sonic looked like.
Yeah.
It's true.
Which to me, looking back now, like at the moment, I was like, "Oh, that's horrible," and I got caught up in the I would never see that, with that kind of look. Got me thinking now, after like emotions have risen and gone through. It's like, I bet that was a publicity stunt, and it was a brilliant one at that.
Maybe. Allegedly, though, they delayed it. Didn't they delay it like a year and put like millions more dollars into CGI?
Sure,
Maybe
but
you're right. Yeah.
what if that was the cover?
Okay.
What if that was the cover? Like, oh, we need to buy ourselves a year. Quick, poop out this awful thing. We know we already know we're going to spend $100 million more or whatever to improve it. Just throw out the placeholder model.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll go with that. I'll take that.
Maybe we're wearing tinfoil hats over here, but like,
it's hard to know these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plausible. Yeah.
It is plausible. Now, I think
metal.
the most recent batch of leaks that we've seen with like Grand Theft Auto 6, those were definitely not intentional leaks, right? That
you don't think
stuff
so?
was. Oh no, the Grand Theft Auto one was a hacker, and that guy got arrested.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the Diablo one was that may or may not have been on purpose. Essentially, there was a closed group of people that got like early like demo access to it within the company, and a few of them were streaming it on Discord, and people captured the footage on Discord and posted it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's how that ended up getting leaked.
So and that's what further like leads me down the some of these leaks are planned and publicity stunts rabbit hole, though, because if somebody got like legitimately got arrested for leaking stuff, why aren't some of these other notable leakers getting arrested or getting in trouble, cease and desist, whatever it is?
Right. Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's
a good point. That's a really good point, because you just said, no, I can prove this was a legit leak. Someone got arrested for this,
Yeah.
Like, someone was making an example of, where other times it's like, what happened to the person who leaked it? That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Wow,
Boy, this
fun.
took a left turn. Like, I did not expect to be talking about weird conspiracy theories, but like, here we are.
Yeah, that was interesting. Any final thoughts on like positive things that come out of leaks before we switch over to your review?
Transparency, I think, is the biggest one. It forces transparency, and I think that's fantastic. I like to see it when companies make mistakes or make something that they were going to work on but didn't. It's fascinating to see the veil pulled back. I know the company's probably frustrated by that, but like, I think it's overall a lot of positive responses from people. Wow, it's really exciting. They're working on this at some point. So.
And I think the internet and the industry kind of need to meet each other halfway, and like the internet needs to be better about curbing their response, and the industry needs to be better at filtering those responses and addressing what's actually a problem.
Yeah,
I agree. Very good insights, my guys. I appreciate that. Let's switch over to the review. Boom. Oh, hey, look at Colin's in the circle. Worked.
Hey, look at that. So
play on this.
Yes, please do that. We good?
We're good.
Okay, so I'm reviewing Megaman Legacy Collection. I've been playing that over the last few months as my daughter sleeps. And I've gotten most of the way through it, through the first one at this point, and I figure it's might as well be time to talk about it. We'll talk about the back half, the second part, when I get there. So this was developed by Digital Eclipse, based on Capcom properties, for a August 24th, 2015 release on Nintendo Switch, Microsoft Windows, 3DS, PlayStation 4, Xbox One. It's been around for a while. But it's really just taking those original 6 Mega Man games, the ones I have behind the curtain on NES cartridges, and porting them to modern hardware to get them into the hands of more players and also allow for that nostalgia factor that we're always digging for. So when I say I played it on Switch, it should come as absolutely no surprise. I'm trying to come as close to the original hardware as possible in this playthrough. So I feel myself a little hesitant to answer the questions like, what did I like about the game? What did I not like about the game? It's Mega Man. I like Mega Man. That's pretty well established.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of new features that they added that are pretty cool. It does build on a save state situation and some rewind features that are quite nice. It does try and emulate like things like screen line or scan lines, and some of the overscan stuff that you would have experienced on a CRT.
How does that look on? Because I've never enjoyed those filters. I always want to, because like I want to have that old school experience.
Yeah.
Every time I've put those filters on,
I
think
agree.
they look like shit, and they make the game look too dark. Like,
Yep.
Okay, so that's where it gets into. Like, I like the fact that they have those features.
Mhm.
The execution kind of sucks.
No one's nailed it.
I do have the scan lines on just as some desperate grab toward that nostalgia of playing on a CRT. But you're right, it does bork up the screen a little bit. It looks kind of funky. It doesn't do what scan lines did in the past, which was give a pseudo illusion of 3D. It almost gives a dimension to the game, because you were playing on a curved monitor. Like it's a CRT was a curve, where I'm playing the LCD of a Switch.
Yeah.
And that's
Interesting.
what it originally meant to do is to give an illusion of 3D, which I only found out.
It also like makes games that have lower fidelity look like they have better fidelity. The best example of that is that screenshot from I think it's Symphony of the Night, where you've got Dracula, and in like the HD version with perfect pixels and everything, he looks like he has just one tiny little red dot in his eye, and it looks terrible. But in like if you look at it on a CRT, it like fills in that area and it looks really good.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly the well, that's one of the examples that a streamer that I was watching and explaining why he plays Super Metroid on a CRT, and then through a capture card from there. There's bits in that also that just look nicer and give a better gameplay experience overall. So yeah, the turning on the scan lines doesn't do anything on the Switch. It just makes it look goofy. And like I left them on mostly because I'm too lazy to be arsed to turn them off.
Sure.
And similarly, like I'm using the save states mostly because I often have to put the Switch down really fast, and I don't want to accidentally ruin my progress or as I said at the top of the show, forget where I am and have to backtrack a little bit. So I like the features. I like the fact that they're there, but it does kind of degrade the original gameplay experience a little bit.
Sure.
So I don't know. I'm kind of lukewarm on those additional features. Honestly, I'd be pretty okay with them just being like, here's Mega Man 1 through 6, one cart, done, go.
Yeah.
And realistically, we were talking about this a few weeks ago. I was really frustrated that the Mega Man Legacy Collection is split into 2.
Yes, they did that with the Mega Man X collection too. It's very frustrating.
I got them both at the same time, and I was like, what is this download code? I want to be able to play Mega Man 1 through 10 ad infinitum. I never want to not be able to play that game. And I have cartridges for 1 through 7, but I have no way to play 8, 9, and 10.
Right.
because they were all on PlayStation, and PlayStation has not made those backwards compatible available other than through this Legacy Collection.
Right.
So
I think you can get them on other platforms now,
Sure.
a la carte. Yeah.
Sure, but I mean, I can't put that PS1 disc in and play Mega.
Right. Correct. Yeah.
So that's frustrating. It's just some frustrating decisions that were made, and there's some demerits there for that, I guess. I can't really talk about the story because it's just the same Mega Man story that we've played over and over again. It's great. It's Wily does something stupid, makes a bunch of robot masters. Mega Man goes shoots them in the face. Bitch bash bosh. Move on to the next.
Real quick question: have you played Mega Man 64?
A long time ago, yes.
It is nuts. Again, sorry,
insane.
sidetrack
Yeah,
there. It's like it's pretty big for a 64 game. Like it's pretty involved. Like way more than you'd think for a Mega Man game.
Yeah,
I feel
isn't it the same game as what were the 3D Mega Mans that they put on PlayStation?
Star Force? No.
I wouldn't know this
Not
answer
Star Force.
because I don't really know Mega Man very well. That is such a realm I'm just not familiar with. I
So-
just have not. It was too hard for me as a kid, and I just gave up, and I never really got into it.
To my knowledge, Mega Man 64 is like a slimmed down version of the
it's
Mega Man Legends. Yeah.
Yep, that is correct.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Yep. And it's those console like 3D Mega Man games, right up until Mega Man Network Transmission on the GameCube, were way more involved than they probably should have been.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think they're
cool.
open world. Some of them were.
They were like RPGs.
Yeah, like RPG. Yeah, exactly. Like it's just like, whoa, how did they have this technology back then and like the foresight to do all this? Like, not that it was a good game or implemented well, but it's still just like, it's incredible.
It was a huge
I mean,
level
it's a
up,
testament.
and a willingness to think outside the box for Capcom.
Yeah,
and they were not as commercially successful as the ongoing Mega Man X series, which was predominant at the time. So they abandoned that project, but good on them for trying. Like legitimately good on them for trying.
I know, it's so sad though. It's like, good on you, but that's all you get.
Especially because Capcom doesn't take many risks these days. Back in the day, they did a lot and they made some awesome games.
Yeah, we were talking at the top of the show about their involvement with Zelda and their willingness to iterate on an already brilliant product in A Link to the Past and Link's Awakening,
right?
And take them into the Oracle games and Minish Cap and Four Swords,
right?
So that was the Mega Man story. It's the Mega Man story. We all know it. Gameplay.
Actually, I actually don't know it. Couldn't tell you.
Well, okay, Mega Man fans all know it, but it's, Wily makes 8 robots. They're just trying to take over the world. Mega Man stops him. End of story.
Okay.
Platforming. That's it. The gameplay, it's fun. It's Mega Man. Now, I will say, going back and playing those games, it's like every other one of them is absolutely nightmare hard.
Yes.
1, 3, and 5 are stupid hard.
They're so hard.
And 2 and 4 are like, oh, this is a cakewalk. I can do. Now, granted, I've played 2 a lot. I've beaten 2 on basically every platform it's ever come out on, including iOS. And that was not easy. Playing with a touchscreen is you're basically covering up half your screen every time you're trying to jump.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know. It's like they couldn't dial in the difficulty properly. In Mega Man 1, half the time you're like, this enemy has respawned in such a way that it's just going to hit me and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. Anytime you change from one screen to another. So clearly they didn't get it right there. 2, they got things right. It was brilliant. 3, they tried to introduce a whole bunch of new concepts and they were like, maybe this is right. Here you go. And then they refined them for 4. 5, same thing. They introduced beat. They introduced a bunch of new, just like collectibles and stuff like that did a thing in the end game. I think, if I'm recalling correctly, they refined it for 6. What baffles me is to buy the cartridges. 3 and 5 are the ones that are expensive. I'm like, why are the ones that are bad by comparison. So
because they're rare probably now, right? Because no one had them.
Ones
Must
that,
be.
that
One of
don't
them.
sell as much typically. Because
Yeah.
there's some really god-awful Nintendo games that
really
cost
are.
so
Really-
much because
Yeah.
they're just hard to find.
Yeah.
Are you all gonna play GoldenEye on your 64 when it comes out?
I
Co-op?
don't know.
Maybe if
man.
they
Or on
do
your
Perfect
Switch,
Dark.
yes.
Maybe if they do Perfect Dark.
Oh, that'd be
Which,
cool.
if you ask me, is just better GoldenEye.
That's what
you
I've
know?
heard. I've actually heard. I never played that one, but I've heard it's just better.
It's
so.
so much better. It's so much better. It just doesn't have the 007 license, obviously.
Pilot Wings
so
is coming too.
yeah.
To, Switch.
So the art again with when I messed with the scan lines, I messed with all, tried to make it look the way it did on the CRT. You just can't capture that. So I got to downgrade on the art a little bit. Just having the smooth graphics of the Switch.
This is actually interesting that you're saying this. Actually, this reminded me of something. The idea that like what they built was around what they knew. So they knew CRT. All TVs back then had that. I didn't even think about that. It's actually kind of interesting insight there. That like had a curve to it. So they probably built the effects to really play with that. To like give the viewer a very certain thing. Like I have a house now that was built 100 years ago, and like I think it was built in a very particular way. I know, and I actually wondered about this, Paul. Is like, for example, the master bedroom. It seems like it's a master bedroom, is on the northwest side of the house, which means you get the least amount of sun. Okay, and so it probably is the coolest room in the house potentially, and so they probably built it like that with thinking you'll probably spend time in there and probably want to wake up and go to bed in the coolest room in the house.
Yep.
And like the upstairs is also on the south side of the house, which gets the most sun, right?
Right.
And so it's like, it makes sense though. Upstairs would be hot anyway, so might as well just put it in the sun, And I mean, I could be completely way off base here and completely wrong, but like, I just wonder, like, 100 years ago, what were they thinking when they built houses? And then, like, we're gonna say this about video games. What were they thinking when they built this video game? Who was their audience, and like, how is the TV curved to add a 3D effect to it? You cannot capture on a simple flat screen LED. Yeah. So like, I also don't include those effects a lot of times. I just don't think they look as. I think it looks good, clean, the way I kind of remember as a kid. So.
Yeah. Yep. The music is it's Mega Man music. It's some of the best in the game. Like absolutely, I could just turn that. I have it on vinyl actually. It's like the one video game soundtrack I have on vinyle.
Good luck finding bad Mega Man music.
Exactly.
Except for some of the Mega Man
X episode.
Like I think X3.
X3 had weird music.
Great music, but pretty much all the rest of them excellent.
But like when I do my painting streams, that's what I turn on is Mega Man music because it's relaxing, it's familiar, it's fun. So Mega Man music is great. Sound design.
You gotta get some of that Zelda lo-fi at some point, though.
I do have that on there too. Yeah, that's on the playlist. So sound design, it's just straight off the Nintendo cartridge, so it's what you expect. How long has it taken me? I don't freaking know at this point because I'm picking it up and putting it down so much. I play it while my daughter.
What's like the average playtime per game? Would you say
per game? I mean, it's like maybe an hour and a half. They're not long.
Here, look, time to beat. Let's just look at time to beat. What was the game? Mega Man what?
Pick Mega Man 2. It's my best.
Mega Man 2. Okay. How long is Mega Man 2? Time to beat. Main story about 3 hours. Main plus side 3 hours. Completionist 3.5 hours.
Really? That surprises me that it's that long, but maybe it is, and maybe it's just on my perspective is skewed.
This is just an average of other people. Yeah. So like these are like people that like some people do it emulated, some people do it on mobile. You know, some people do it on PlayStation 5. It seems like so you're probably getting all kinds of people who haven't played it. Most of the people who have.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, if you know what you're doing,
so if your average playtime per game is around 3 hours, that's a ton of content in the Legacy collection.
Yeah. It's 3 times 6 is what 18.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a 20-hour game. It's a 20-hour Legacy collection. It's pretty solid. Is the game difficult? Mega Man games are tough. I mean, notoriously so.
Really hard.
They're so difficult. It's like Ninja Gaiden difficult. You know?
Yeah.
Kind of unfair, almost sometimes difficult. Like that's shitty.
No, yeah. I mean,
sometimes I compare them more to like
1 is unfair or 3.
Yeah.
1 and 3.
I compare them somewhat more to like a Souls-like difficulty. I know that's very overused, but it's like hard but fair. Like it's like brutally hard, but if you learn the game, you can complete it. Anyone who
Oh, yeah.
spends the time to learn it can complete it.
Anytime
Really?
you see a Yellow Devil,
You know what? Maybe you're right. I've always thought that Souls-like games were meant to troll you. Like I thought they were. I was like, who would want to play that?
That's what I thought at first. Yeah.
I did too.
For years.
In fact, I stayed away from them because of that belief.
Same here.
Which was
Same here.
wrong.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got into it, it's like, I get it. And almost every death that I died was always like, no, that was my fault. I got impatient. I wasn't good enough. I didn't know the move style, most of the time. Sometimes the game definitely messed up and made mistakes, like for sure.
Mhm.
But anyway, so you feel like Mega Man's the same way as that? Like
I do.
Early ones?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anytime, and everything can be done, obviously, but like as soon as Yellow Devil shows up on the screen as a big yellow blob thing with the one eye, I'm like, okay, this is going to take me multiple tries because I need to memorize this pattern in which he flies across the screen. As soon as I can do that, I'm fine.
Okay, so
the first
here's
time,
why Oh, go ahead. Well,
I was gonna say the first time he shows up, all you can do is jump. You can't slide. Slide wasn't introduced, I don't think, until 3, but I could be wrong. As soon as you can slide, Yellow Devil becomes way
World
easier
of difference, yeah.
because you can go under his flying blocks instead of having to only jump over them.
Do you earn slide in this game at some point?
No, it's just something that like you just honestly you have it from the very beginning. I believe, like I said, I think it's 3, and you have it from the beginning, but the game never shows you how to use it.
That to me is poor game design.
Well, I disagree.
Early,
and the only reason I disagree is because
they have manuals.
The manuals. That's exactly what I was going to say. That stuff is in the
Yeah.
manuals.
See, and again, who is the audience? The audience. The first thing you do, you pull out your game. You look at the manual. You
on
read
your
all
way
the
home
lore.
in your mom's
Why am I
car.
doing this?
Yeah.
As the lights pass over, the street lights and everything, you're like, okay,
yeah.
But
and unfortunately, like unless you already know that you have it, the manual doesn't exist anymore other than in
that's
PDF. That's
interesting. Yeah.
Are
so
they
now
not in the Legacy Collection?
There's nothing in the Legacy. I don't think.
I'm pulling
the
it up
game by itself is lacking. So
it might be in the actual game. I didn't even look.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like within the game.
Okay.
So for example, Jedi Power Battles, I know I'm going back to this game that I'm going to review at some point, has this stupid part where you basically, and I remember dying to this a lot, where things will shoot you mid-jump, and you have no recourse, and you fall down straight.
Yes.
And there's no recourse. There's no way to get around that except to run up, stop, deflect, or wait for him to shoot and then go, But you would never know that, and the camera doesn't show you that until it's too late, basically,
Right.
And so, and also the depth perception, the whole thing. That to me is just bad game design. That to me is just mean, just because the game is not good enough to telegraph to you that's about to happen, or to have a recourse for that happening, rather than just brute. I just had to know, or get lucky that I didn't get hit. And that to me is a bad design. Where I think most of Dark Souls feels like, oh, I can beat this. I just need to get better. Now it's slowed down for me finally. Where this is that's just bad design, it's not telegraphing anything to me, or not communicating well, basically.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So I just wonder, the old Mega Man games, like Ninja Gaiden felt like that. They didn't have enough memory to keep track of the level, who you killed, and so every time a new area loaded, it just loaded fresh. All the variables from the previous thing are just reloaded on the screen. So it's even if you killed this guy earlier, he's back. If he's on the edge of the screen, so you had to learn how to almost unload people basically off screen just to play it.
The game manuals do not appear to be in the Legacy Collection. I just looked.
Yeah, so there you go.
Oh, that sucks. That'd be cool. How would they start doing that if Nintendo was
a lot of collections do. A lot of them do. When you
no way.
I'm trying to think of some, but I know that I own games that have a virtual manual in them, that are retro games that have been reproduced.
Yeah. So will I play a sequel? Will I play a sequel? Yes, of course. I
always play a new Mega Man.
Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 is already loaded on my Switch.
What if you're the biggest Mega Man fan of all time?
I'm definitely not. I mean,
you're no, I'm not.
Leg, but
that's a bad thing.
A guy with
He probably owns like all the memorabilia, like dresses as Mega Man or something like that. That's probably the biggest, fan of Mega Man.
I know a guy who's a professional cosplayer.
That's a weird concept.
I know, right? But he has like a pretty dope looking Proto Man costume.
That'd be cool. Proto Man was
just an
always
actor
my
without
favorite in
lines.
the original.
Proto Man is the best.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always thought that there was a link between Proto Man and Zero, but there isn't really at all.
There's not. They tried to like
he's very clearly like he's Proto Man, right?
Yeah. And even the fact that both of them were designed by Wily.
Yeah.
And then reprogrammed by Light. But anyway, so like I can't rate this as Mega Man. Obviously, each Mega Man game standing on its own is very high for me, like 9.6, and that territory. I would play them and will play them until I drop dead. They're delightful games and they keep me happy. But I can only rate this as a legacy collection, as a conglomerate of all the stuff that is Mega Man, and the fact that it's missing key elements like the game manual, and it doesn't really deliver on some of those classic experiences via things like scan lines and other nonsense. I can't give this a particularly overwhelmingly great grade. Is it playable? Yes. Is it fun? Yes. So it definitely puts it above, 5 to 6, which is our okay range. I'm going to give this like a 7.1 as a collection. I think it's just barely into good territory. Worth picking up. It's not expensive. It's like $20 maybe for the Legacy Collection 1 and 2, which is a pretty good bargain. Like that's many hours of gameplay. I mean, what did we say? 3 hours per game, 10 games, 30 hours of gameplay. So that's it's pretty dope. It is a bummer that only half of them are physical, and so if we want to go back and play the back half of the series, we might be SOL one day. That's a bummer. So at a 7.1, that puts it right about the same as where I put Arkham Knight, where it's right around where I put it's a little bit worse than where I put Mega Man 11, which is exactly where I would expect it to fall. Colin, this is right the same level you put like Shadow of the Colossus and We Were Here.
So good.
Yeah. So yeah, 7.1 for Mega Man Legacy Collection.
Very good. Let's switch on back real quick and close out the show.
Yeah.
All right. That was a good review. Dude, it's hard to go wrong with Mega Man, honestly.
Correct. Absolutely true. It's going to be in the good zone pretty much no matter what. But I really don't know what I was expecting. But ranking this as a collection, it does have to be slightly worse than Mega Man 11 because Mega Man 11 is phenomenal. Really, it's just really, really, really hard.
And I wholeheartedly agree with your assessment on that, like as a collection, because there are some there's some shortcomings, But
also, like if you think about the Zero collection that we got, that got some actual like real quality of life improvements.
Yeah.
The checkpoints that it introduced, the graphical upgrades, this just system wide, tweaks and cleaning that made it better.
Yeah.
Where this didn't get that. So
for sure. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us tonight. This is Difficult podcast. If you're watching us live, we are on my Twitch channel. I do streams on Tuesdays and sometimes Thursdays. I'm kind of on a little bit of a hiatus from that at the moment, but we still do Samurai Saturdays where we play Samurai games every Saturday, which is dope. And we're back here for the podcast on Sundays. If you're watching it on YouTube, please, share it and like and comment and all that fun stuff. If you want to yell at me on Twitter, you can hit me at Ryugami-sama. Special thanks to Colin for joining us tonight and filling in for Josh. I think he's kind of frozen on screen right now, but
I am
probably still here.
No, you're good. You're good.
Colin, do you have anything that you want to shout out? Anything that you're working on, or?
No, I'm just working on my own stuff. I got that AI generator working in my computer. That's pretty slick. So I can generate any kind of. If you have any prompts for me, let me know. I'd be happy to. It takes about 40 seconds.
So, Colin, I'm doing a unit with my fifth graders on AI this year, and just like kind of watching out for it. I may have to hit you up with some questions.
Please do. I'm like asking anybody to like give me fun prompts, and I'll explain how to give good prompts to it and everything. And like, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Anyway, I'm trying tonight. My goal is to train it on Faye, actually, on her face, and then I'll have a prompt called like Mindari or something like that I can include. So like Mindari, riding a motorcycle or something like that, and it'll have Faye riding a motorcycle or whatever, and you can do
That's
like Mindari
crazy.
Pixar, and it'll make Faye but Pixar version of her.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
it's so cool. It's so cool and so scary and so awesome at the same time.
Yeah. I've been following this for a while now, and it's pretty slick. And the other thing is, I'm doing an AI bot that can like talk to you and everything. So it's pretty smart. I mean, like it's not smart, but it seems pretty smart. So
cool.
Zach, what about you, man? Where can we find you?
I am currently dark on Twitch, but very, very soon, Z's, I will be back on Wednesday nights for Zach Sucks at Games and Zach and Alex Gear Up.
Cool.
I think probably within the next 2 to 4 weeks, I will be back.
Excellent.
And then Twitter at DENONCZD if you want to see me just like kind of mouthing off and making dumb observations about the world.
Yeah, that's what we do. All right. Thanks, guys. Everyone have an awesome night. We'll see you guys next time.